As a young coach in the fitness industry, I was a real sucker for methods. I thought that methodology was exclusively what would drive my results. And so when I was a kid, I started Olympic weightlifting, I went into boxing, I done some bodybuilding, I went to powerlifting, I started running more. And then I finally found what really worked for me and made me tick. And the current style that I am running right now, which is a hybrid of a bodybuilding program and some combat in there as well. I do one boxing session and one Muay Thai session per week. But as I matured as a coach, I realized that methods are many and principles are few. And there are countless ways to approach a task. In this case, we are talking about building muscle. And all of these vary based on context, preference, the resources that you've got available to you, and a confluence of other factors as well. As a kettlebell coach starting out, this room that is now my kind of office and storage for all my fucking countless amounts of shoes that I've got, it was my home gym, and it was literally comprised of a pull-up bar that I had built out of scaffolding that I had reclaimed, and a shitload of kettlebells and dumbbells going up to maybe like 10 or 15 kilos, something like that. And so I would adapt my methodology to match my principles. And what was important to me at the time was getting really, really strong. And so typically I was working in very low rep ranges with lots of rest, and I was utilizing kettlebells to do that. Are they optimal? Absolutely not. In fact, I barely even touch a kettlebell these days after building my young career on it. But the simple matter of fact was I was able to get really, really fucking strong with them because I understood the principles that I needed to apply to actually take myself there. But you need to understand this. Having a grasp on what the principles of building size are enables an effective method selection for you. And so in this video, I am going to break down the 3 guiding principles that I live by and that you really need to stick to in order to ensure that you are seeing consistent progress instead of just spinning your wheels with your training. Now, if you are no stranger to this channel, you will have heard me use this term before, and it is a high degree of effort. And that is principle number 1 from me. We understand from Henneman's size principle that motor units are recruited from smallest to largest in accordance with the amount of effort you are applying in a set. So when I start a set of 10, my first rep, I'm only using the really, really small motor units in the muscle. And when I get towards failure or 1 rep in reserve, I have recruited the largest motor units in the muscle. That is basically your body's way of helping you out and helping you move the fucking weight that's right in front of you. You need to give your body a reason to adapt, okay? There will be plenty of clips in this video of me training. You'll see me absolutely pissing with fucking sweat and like the faces that I'm pulling in all of my training. And that's because I treat every single set like it is the last one I'm ever gonna do, okay? And to maximize muscle growth, we really wanna optimize for effort. In other words, that means in your working sets, you need to work really, really fucking hard and honestly push yourself into the depths of hell. I don't really agree with the whole mentality of like, this is war, like you're going in to sit on a fucking low row machine, mate. Like, it's not war, but it is very, very important for you to understand that we really have to push our sets. Otherwise, it's a complete waste of time us going into the gym from a size building perspective. If we relate this to methods, we then understand that we want to select a method that allows us to get to failure or close to it as predictably and safely as possible. And for me right now in my current program, and for anyone who trains on their own without a spotter, this is through the use of machines, because there's a lot less consequence to failing a rep on, say, a bicep curl machine where you can simply just let go, and actually doing a preacher curl. Does that mean that a preacher curl is an ineffective way of helping you build muscle? No, I absolutely fucking love them. But the reality is that certain lifts carry a little bit more risk, which is probably what makes them enticing and exciting and gives you that great feeling when you actually manage to hit a PB on them. But we've really got to think like, what's going to help me move the most amount of weight? What's going to help me target the muscle the most and give me the most external stability, and what's going to reduce the overall fatigue on my central motor command? So if you don't know what that is, central motor command is basically your central nervous system's ability to output force. And with every single set that we do, as long as it's a high effort set, we decrease our ability to put force out and to recruit those larger muscle fibers that we were talking about a little bit earlier in the video. Okay, so it's very, very important that we have programming that is smart, that is effective, something like the programming I put out, a little shameless plug, and one that is not just filled with junk volume and a load of shit exercises and stupid warm-ups that you don't necessarily really need to do. My second principle is to live with a lack of variety. I know there's lots of coaches who think that training is like this entertainment tool, and don't get me wrong, I get a lot of enjoyment out of my training, but when I used to treat my training like it was something that was there to kind of keep me occupied and that I should just be having loads of fun doing, that was ultimately because I was missing out on the things that I actually needed to do to build size. I wasn't putting the effort in. I was skipping out on the movements that perhaps I should have been doing. And that's why it was fun, because everyone just loves to go in and do a load of barbell bench pressing, do arms and skip the legs, right? That's fucking like every fella's dream, but it's just not really the reality of building a well-rounded, decent physique. Switching up your lifts every 4 to 8 weeks just for the sake of it is really fucking stupid, okay? If you are progressing in a lift continuously, that means that it is effective at delivering a muscle building stimulus. Why would you then switch that out and go to something else where you will then have to spend possibly the first 4 or 5 sessions actually sussing out where your failure point is, what load you should be using? It's a complete waste of time and energy. Training should be somewhat fun, and I don't really have a problem with switching things up for the sake of variety when we're making a like-for-like switch. So if I have clients who are on an incline dumbbell bench press and they've run that for 12 weeks, I might just go and move them to an incline convergent sternal chest press machine, right? It's the same movement pattern, but it's something a little bit different, and it keeps them motivated and in the gym, because that's just the reality of training Gen Pop. They do actually need a little bit of motivation. But if you're someone who is really serious about building size and you can commit to almost the boredom of doing the same lifts over and over and over again until they plateau, that is absolutely what I would recommend you do. A plateau is really the only condition that I have for changing an exercise in my program. And because my programs are so well set up and relatively low volume with high degrees of effort, I don't really ever hit plateaus, which sounds a little bit mad for someone with 10 years of training experience, but I can honestly hand on heart say 90% of my lifts every single week are progressed in either weight or reps, and that is all down to that level of smart programming. So a complete lack of variety is really going to help you out. You know what they say, you don't fear the man who has practiced 10,000 kicks one time, but the man who has practiced one kick 10,000 times. The exact same thing applies to your training. The third of which is having solid self-awareness, or I've called it understanding your body, right? And whilst I really love how low reps and heavy weight make me feel and the results I get running that methodology, I'm not ignorant enough to believe that that's the only way that everyone should do things just because it works well for me. I have ran high reps in the past and I have gotten results with higher reps in the past, but that has come at the cost of energy and just being a little bit more fatigued in general, and honestly finding it a little bit harder to find what my true technical failure point was. And so for me, I understand that that's my training style and that's what I like and that's what keeps me ticking. But under self-awareness, there's lots of things, right? You've got like nutritional strategies, which are obviously very, very important for getting yourself in shape, what you would need to recover, what training style is likely to keep you in the gym and most consistently in there and progressing, and what you actually really need to work on in order to develop a well-rounded physique. I know a chest press machine is a better option for managing fatigue, and I do use it every so often, but there's something about heavy dumbbell benching that I just love, and no science-based lifting bro is going to talk me out of. I also know I'm not going to stick to a leg day in a program, and it's much more effective for me to actually just do 2 to 3 leg movements per session, because even though I really enjoy training them, the degree of effort I use individual leg days are extremely tiring and ultimately affect my ability to box and do things like Muay Thai through the week. That's self-awareness, knowing what makes you tick and what doesn't. If you follow these 3 principles, you will not go too far wrong, and the beauty is they can be adapted to any methodology if you just use your fucking brain.